Ayurveda is a term that most people have never heard of before, and we are changing that today. Ayurveda is a Sanskrit term originating from present-day India over 3,000 years ago. Ayurveda is actually a compound word combining the Sanskrit word for life, Ayur, with the Sanskrit word for science, Veda, right? So from this point on, if you ever hear about the Vedas, right, air quotes for emphasis, that means the sciences. Things that you already know about and have heard about fall under these Vedas. Yoga is the most popular one. Then you have things like karma, tantra, astronomy, astrology, acupuncture, even feng shui, interior design has roots in the Vedas. So it's already all around you. You're familiar with it. And Ayurveda is actually the medicinal sister science of yoga. The way I like to describe Ayurveda is as a consciousness-based approach to health and wellness, right? Consciousness-based, which means you are actively thinking about and participating in your health and wellness on a moment-to-moment basis. So Ayurveda reminds us that each and every moment of our waking life, the power is ultimately ours, our own, to help ourselves either remain in optimal balance, and we know what that feels like in our bodies and our minds, or, you know, we also have the option to move ourselves further out of balance. And sometimes that can be a result of ignorance, you know, poor habits, unconscious behavioral patterns, all of those things. So Ayurveda gives us a chance to examine those behaviors and choose again. The great thing about Ayurveda is that even as your coach, I am not asking you to trust me, okay? I am asking you to trust you, because Ayurveda is ultimately a complete comprehensive science of how to live life as the optimal version of you, right? So maybe I don't know what's best. You'll know what feels best in your mind and your body. So part of that is honing in on who and what you are. And by what, I'll get into that in a little bit. We will go into what goes into comprising a human being as far as Ayurveda is concerned. And everyone is different. So listen a little closer, because here's where we're going to get technical. Okay, I'm going to throw some vocab at you. So vocab term number 1, prakruti. Prakruti translates to essential nature. Okay, what I like to call your snowflake setting, right? It's a special, individual, and precisely personal blueprint of your essential self in your bodily experience. So Prakruti is based on your unique and precise ratio of the 5 elements. In Ayurveda, we call them the Pancha, 5, Maha, master, Bhutas, elements. It's a mouthful, but it's kindergarten stuff. Trust me. The 5 master elements: earth, fire, water, air, and space, right? If you ever saw the 90s cartoon Captain Planet, this is a lot of fun. I grew up watching that. And, you know, the characters would always combine their powers like earth, wind, fire, like literally it's the same thing. These 5 elements, Pancha Mahabhutas, buddy up in pairs to form the 3 doshas. Okay, that's our next vocab term, dosha. Dosha is what we label the specific pairings of elements. In Sanskrit, the term dosha literally translates to that which can cause problems. Okay, so don't get alarmed, because again, consciousness-based approach to health and wellness. So we have the power to be mindful of when we are approaching that state of imbalance where problems arise. As we all know, the dose makes the poison, right? Too much of a good thing becomes a bad thing. A little bit of ice cream, awesome. Way too much ice cream, not awesome. Unless you're a super vata, then a little bit of ice cream is too much ice cream. All right, we'll get into that. So Ayurveda is 100% about balance, right? Remember, it is intertwined with yoga. So we aim for the same alignment and balance in our doshas as we do with our body weight distribution in like a downward dog position. Now, remember this, I made it rhyme, so hopefully it will stick. We are all made up of all doshas 3, but how much of each is what makes us unique. We are all made up of all doshas 3, but how much of each is what makes us unique? Okay, so the 3 doshas are Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Vata, Pitta, Kapha. Before I delve into those, I just want to let you know that in order to find your Vikruti, which is going to tell you exactly what doshas you are predominantly comprised of and how to keep those healthy and balanced, we have a Prakruti quiz. Here's what it looks like. And I will link to it below this video so that you can access that. Take that quiz, find out exactly where you are. But just when I go through a little bit of a description of what these doshic elemental combinations are, you should have kind of a sense already of like what you're identifying with and what rings true for you. Vata, Pitta, Kapha. Doshas. So Vata, we'll start with Vata. It's closely associated with the image of wind. Okay, so in Sanskrit, Vata literally means that which blows. Get your mind out of the gutter, not like that. Vata is comprised of air and space. So Vata qualities are light, changeable, adaptable, enthusiastic, cold, and dry. So Vata people tend to be on the thin side. They're kind of cold all the time. They get, involved in many things at once, maybe too many things at once. Anxiety is a big sign of Vata overwhelm, as is insomnia, right? That feeling when you wake up at around 2 a.m., your mind is going crazy with all these thoughts. You start writing emails in your head, to-do lists popping up. That's all Vata imbalance. Okay. That's a little bit too much space and area, going a little stir crazy, right? The spinning, the mental spinning, very Vata. In our bodies, too much Vata, wind, can lead to bloating and indigestion. A lot of air in the colon and in the stomach. It's not super fun. Next dosha, Pitta. Pitta is associated with fire. Okay, it's very intense, hot, penetrating, and transformative. The Sanskrit translation is that which cooks. Pitta is made of the elements of obviously fire, but also water. Okay, so processes in the body that involve absorption, assimilation, and detoxification are all Pitta, especially digestion and anything enzymatic or bacterial. The teenage period of life is Pitta to the maximum in its fullest expression, right? When we're in our teenage years, there is just transformation and eruptions of all kinds, right? Physical, emotional, below the belt, above the belt. You have acne, hormones, it's a mess, okay? Pitta dosha people in balance are very direct. They are goal-oriented. They are great in business, very visual learners. Sight is they have like a very, clear crystal sight and vision, and they can work towards that vision. They can literally transform and arrange the pieces of their life and the teams around them to make those goals happen, to make them a reality. They're warm, they're loyal, and they're very confident. They are blessed with amazing digestion, right? They're the kind of people that can eat seemingly anything and be okay. They're the kind that never have to worry about bringing a sweater with them to the movie theater. But too much Pitta can create acidity that burns, irritates, and inflames. So Pitta imbalances bring us things like acid reflux, heartburn, hot runny stools, skin rashes. Emotionally, we'll see anger, resentment, revenge. Perfectionism is a big Pitta one. That accusation parade, the you did this wrong, it's your fault, you failed, outbursts. Okay, all of those hot, blood boiling reactions speak to an overwhelming Pitta imbalance. Then we have Kapha. So where Pitta is action and transformation, Kapha is kind of the opposite, right? It's stability and insulation. So while Vata is dry, ungrounded, unpredictable, Kapha is moist, dense, dependable. It's comprised of the elements earth and water. Kapha translates to that which sticks. So conjure the image of a mother and a newborn baby, right? That softness, the extra insulated tissues, almost swelling with nourishment, or Thanksgiving comfort foods. So your mashed potatoes, your gravy, your mac and cheese, pumpkin pie, soft, tasty, sugary, dense, nourishing. Kapha is like the adobe mud brick that builds structures. It's the protective cell membrane. It's the fluid in your joints, the mucosal lining of your stomach, of your lungs. It's the reproductive fluid and the cushion for the pushing, okay? Kapha people are patient. They are dependable, they're deliberate, they are protectors and providers, right? They stick with things for better or worse. So routines, jobs, hobbies, relationships, they have a hard time letting go of things that are no longer useful for them. So they keep things around, they stay in situations longer than might be healthy. So whereas Vata can't stop fidgeting and changing things, and can tire itself out rather easily with all of that frenetic energy that gets thrown around, Kapha hates change and has a hard time getting up and moving. They're the ones dragging themselves begrudgingly to the gym on January 1st, and maybe they don't make it back January 2nd. Too much Kapha creates accumulations and depression, right? So that weighted down heaviness feeling. Do you know someone with a drawer full of fast food ketchup packets that's been building for like 10 years now? That's a Kapha imbalance, all right? Do them a favor, dump it out. It's pretty much just colored corn syrup anyway. Kapha thrives on group energy, but when saddened, they withdraw and shut down. They dwell on past guilt and shame. They often choose not to acknowledge problem areas because if they say something about it, they have to do something about it, right? And that would mean change. So physically, they can develop blockages and masses. So cysts, congestion, stones, diabetes, weight gain. They can lay in bed or on the couch. They miss opportunities and can feel hopelessly stuck. Each dosha comes with its pluses and minuses, and that's where that mindfulness comes into play of how do I make the best choice for my programming, for my essential nature, so that I can keep myself thriving in the best state. So I can use the gifts of my doshas to their maximum potential without being hindered by those, pitfalls that I can fall into. And we all have those. So we said that your prakriti is your essential nature. We all contain a unique, precise ratio blend of all the doshas, Vata, Pitta, Kapha. No one has the exact same distribution proportions of these elements as you. And that's why so many of these things in our lives, how and when we sleep, what and how we eat, what we do for exercise, where, with whom, for how long, how we take the time to process difficult emotions and stress. It's also personal. And the best way to undercut your potential is by thinking that what works for somebody else will always work for you. And that's the blessing and the curse of Ayurveda, is that there is no one size fits all approach. It really does put you in the driver's seat of making the best choice for yourself. So if your prakriti is the essential nature that you come in with, that you are trying to get back to, your vikruti is your current state of imbalance. So maybe you're somebody who really thrives when you are maybe heavier on the Kapha side and, a little lighter on the Vata side. But too much Vata imbalance has you, unable to fall asleep. Your mind is racing like crazy. You're getting really anxious. All these fearful thoughts come about. You're making plans but can't stick to them. And it doesn't feel good. You can tell that there's something a little off. Or maybe you're somebody who's supposed to be Vata and light and adaptable and changeable, but you find yourself being really quick to anger. You get attached to these visions, and when you aren't able to reach your goals, your blood starts to boil. You start yelling and snapping at people. That's a Pitta imbalance. And there are many ways that we have to work ourselves back out of these. So we'll look at things like nutrition and diet. We'll look at things like sleep. Emotional freedom, meditation, pranayam. Believe it or not, breathing has a lot to do with how we can regulate some of these states. Movement is another. In the quest for convenience and speed, we've been brought up in a culture that discourages or never shows us quite how to take the time to really get to know ourselves and our true nature. our quirks and our preferences. Some things just don't feel right, and other things feel like heaven. Ayurveda is your road to balanced body bliss.